There we
Yeah, I
go.
thought I had preset it to record. I'll have to fix that so that it is pre-recorded just in case.
Oops.
Anna and I are at the National Respite Conference right now, so hopefully
Oh,
my
awesome.
internet will stay well.
Okay. If you disappear, I got it.
Okay, and put you as a co-host just in case.
Yeah. Nope. I saw that. So that is great. Let me.
Everyone who has signed up as of this morning has received the invite. So
Great. Hello, early joiners. Welcome. We'll get started maybe a minute or two after the hour to let everybody pop in. Melissa, do you want to kick off or should I open or what do you want to do there?
I could do just a quick kickoff.
Perfect.
I didn't
Okay.
plan like a presentation or anything, but
Yeah, that's
we can
we're
open it.
gonna
Good afternoon, everyone who's joining us. We'll get started about a minute after the hour. Brady, do you have any resources that you want to share in the chat today or any follow-up resources?
I think the toolkit itself, it
Yeah, I'm going to
works
put
for
that
the
in the
chat,
chat.
and then we can send out an email with the direct links to like the heart map template and some other things
Okay.
after, and I'll email that to you.
Okay, terrific. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll get started in just a minute. Okay, we're going to get started. I know we'll have some people joining us along the way. This has been a very popular learning collaborative, and many people have signed up. So my name is Melissa Devlin. I am the Assistant Director at the Grand Families and Kinship Support Network here at Generations United. And the purpose of the network is to work with professionals who are serving kinship families or other relatives raising children, close family friends to help them better serve and support kinship caregivers. And we are going in our third year right now as a result of a cooperative agreement between Generations United and the Administration for Community Living. And that is on the aging side. And I know many of you are more from the child welfare side, but there's obviously many aging individuals in our country who are caregivers. And so we appreciate this opportunity to receive this support and create this first ever National Technical Assistance Center to support all of you in doing better work with supporting kinship families. So this is the first in a multi-series learning community on kin mobilization, also referred to as kin finding. One of our subject matter experts is Marina Nitza, who many of you I'm sure know. And she, and through the Child Welfare Playbook, is one of our subject matter experts. And she helped, she created a toolkit which provides many strategies on ways to find and engage kinship caregivers. So I'm going to drop that resource in the chat in just a few minutes. She also conducted a webinar a while back on this topic. And so one of the things that she has agreed to help us with is to host one of our learning collaboratives this year to help all of you get better results in kin search and engagement. And so we have a 20 session learning community. It is going to be every other Thursday, except for July 4th. I have sent a calendar invite out to everyone who has signed up. If you can just double check to make sure you have the series in your calendar. And if not, I'm going to drop my email in the chat if you can email me, because some people I think got like this session, but didn't get the rest of them. So I want to make sure everyone has the sessions. You're not required to attend all of them, although the more you attend, the more you're going to learn. And Marina has arranged a number of people with expertise on this topic and different strategies that are being used that will be joining us in each of these sessions. So try to attend as many as you can. They're going to be an hour or under. And we also want to make an opportunity for you all to share with each other what's working for you and what are some of the challenges that you have. So again, if you have any questions or you need any support from the Grand Families and Kinship Support Network, we do provide free technical assistance. I will put some information in the chat and you can reach out to us for some help. But anyway, I will turn it on over now to Marina.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. I see lots of friendly and familiar faces and excited to meet many of the new of you. A quick note of apology. I went to the eye doctor this morning and had my eyes dilated and now cannot see. So if I look a little off, please don't read into it this morning. And Melissa has got my back in terms of the chat. So this will be great. As she mentioned, we're going to cover a different tactic or two. Sometimes they go well together. Today is an example of that. Where we're going to talk about using genograms and heart maps to help surface and keep track of a youth's supportive adults, even if they maybe are not placement options. And I want to give a special shout out to Kevin Campbell, who gave me the gentle feedback that when this was originally called the Kin Finding Learning Collaborative, this is the Kin Mobilization Learning Collaborative, because we don't find kin, they are there already, right? We aren't doing a good job collectively as a nation. There's lots of opportunity for improvement, for mobilizing our kin, connecting more with them, and really helping our kids in care maintain and support those connections. So we have a few guest speakers today. Linda is Michigan, and Allie and Carol from Rhode Island are going to share some of their practices in this space. I was lucky enough to meet all of them over the course of working groups over the last year, or I think Glenda was actually a couple of years. You gave an amazing presentation on genograms, and I'm really excited and grateful that you're here today. As Melissa mentioned, this will be recorded, and our hope is that you'll come live as you can, because then we'll be able to have Q&A. But we're holding these sessions because we want you, if you aren't currently, for example, using heart maps and genograms and these kinds of tools, we hope you're inspired today by the speakers. We hope that they're detailed enough that you have some next steps, and the network is here to help you with TA if you have questions or concerns or need any other kind of support to implement it. So it's very much my hope that as the series goes on, we have agencies after each meeting that are interested in adopting that practice, and that you can reach out. We can connect you with others. We can connect you with agencies that are doing it well now. We can, provide some elbow grease if you need maybe a policy or practice guide for your agency, whatever it may be. Don't hesitate to reach out. So with that, Glenda, I will pass it to you and would love for you to share your genogram work in Michigan. And if you want to share your screen, I'll stop sharing.
All right. Hello, everybody. I will share. There's a few things that we are doing that we implemented, and really it's going by what the case manager's preference is. So we really don't have a requirement as far as what they use. The requirement is that one is completed and that it is eligible and that it's in the case file. So with that, we have made up some templates, and I will I will share my screen and give you an idea what a couple of those look like. And let me know if you can't see that.
We can see it. Thank you.
This is the first one. And some people like this because it goes into a little more depth with the cousins. Because, obviously they might have some older cousins that may be a support to the child. Like she was saying, doesn't need to be placement at all. Just going to a baseball game, sending Christmas cards, maybe going over for Thanksgiving dinner because some don't have that. So just the simple stuff like that. This is the first thing that we are, some people like these best. And I don't know if you know, but you can edit this in a PDF. You can edit a PDF file. So a lot of them just keep it on their desktop, and then they will bring it up, and then they will type what they need, and then save it, and then upload it into the case file. The second one that a worker created was this one. It goes to both sides of the family, and again, it's quite extensive. Put the name of the family here. Again, you can type in it as a PDF file. You just type in it. And then a third one that people like, I'm not such a big fan of it, but it is what it is, because some people don't like the bubble ones, right? You just put all this stuff information in here. The bad thing about this is some of the kids have different dads, right? So that's where it gets tricky on here. At least on this one, you can put the dad here and then go ahead and do it all. Put the dad here and then do his side, and you can do another one for mom. Again, it's what the preference, whatever the worker's preference is. We do use a software called Geno Pro. I don't know if anybody is aware of that. It is available, and this is what it looks like. I did a little bit of what my family. This is a little bit more complicated, and a lot of people don't like this one. But I've used it enough to where I feel comfortable with it. So if someone asks me to help with the genogram, I will, because I am comfortable, but I will always go to my second most favorite, and I'll show that in a minute. But this one, it can go a little bit more complex. Like my father died of heart disease, so it gives you a point where here you can add heart disease, and it colors the square red. And if you want to make changes, you just double click on it, and then all this information come in. You can add a picture. You can add a comment in here, like there right now, this person can't have contact with little Beth because of A, B, and C reason. And it doesn't show up on there. It's something that has to be clicked on first. I can upload the how to download this GenoPro, the directions to that in the chat, as well as the templates if you like. This is that one. And another reason why I like this one too is because you can have several genograms tabs. So as like a foster care worker, you have 15 cases, you can just name these and have all your 15 cases here, and then go in and make changes as need be. So I like that part of it. See, let's do the other one. And you'll see why this is a better. It's right here. Duh. Okay. Okay, so everybody has access to this. This is familyecho.com. Many of you may have seen this already. But this one is really friendly user friendly. It just is phenomenal. Some of the things that you can do is, let's, for instance, if you want to change the colors, you don't like that blue is too purplish, whatever, you just go to options and then you can change the colors or whatever. And you can change how you want the names to be shown and all that stuff. It's got extra where you can add the phone number and all that stuff. If you wanted if they have a person ID, you can add the person ID. You know, it just gives you lots of choices. You just want to bring it back. So you can create account, like I have an account created. These you can rename these. So like if you're a foster care worker or an ongoing worker or whatever, you can put the names right here, Smith, Baker. And so like if you're a worker, you could just go to that if you wanted to add to it. Oops, that's not the one. Okay, so let's say I want another good thing about this, because I do help a lot of workers do the Genograms and fill them out, and I want to share it with them, or if I just want to upload, because all you have to do is, whoops, cancel, sorry. You go down here and you push print, and then you can download the PDF file and then send it to them in email, or just upload it to the case file like that. We're getting to where a lot of workers now have their own profile or their own account, so that all they have to do is go in and do it themselves. It really doesn't. This is good because a lot of people, if they're not using the PDF file, not typing, and they're writing it out, you know, they have to be eligible for that next worker that comes along so they can read it and add to it. It's just really important and I've come across where all they have is the first name. How is that helpful, right? So we've getting a little bit more training in making sure that people are just using them to where they need to be and reaching out. And we put phone numbers on here if you want, because that's helpful too, right? You know, one other thing I wanted to show you. Okay, where is it? Oops. That thing's in my way. How do you get rid of that? Oh, okay. Okay, it's gone now. I guess I'm not going to show you. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I'm happy to open up the floor. I have a couple maybe to start with. Do you find it helpful to use these to keep track of maybe like, especially early on, right? Maybe we found 10 different family members, but we haven't reached out to any of them yet. Do you find it useful to use the Genogram to help keep track of that kind of activity, or do you do that somewhere else?
Well, in our system, we have like a relative search tab, and you're supposed to put all of your active efforts and you know, contacting those relatives in there. So that would be one way. You know, the problem is we sit down with families and we're asking them, you know, we would love to fill this out, you know, for your child, so they have those connections, and you know how they're hesitant, right? So it's our job to build that rapport and that connection with them to get those names out of there. And what you said is using it. We may not use it now, but we may need it down the road, right? And so yes, we do use it. I know on the flip side of the one, I had put names and addresses and phone numbers of just support people. It doesn't need to be family. So, you know, we call Uncle Paul might be a good support for you later down the road. So we have really kind of changed our way of looking at things. And if that's somebody that's close to the child, such as a teacher, you know, we will put them down. Especially if they're willing just to be a support to the child. They don't have to take placement to be supportive.
Are there any tricks to visualizing like a teacher kind of relationship in the Genogram? Are they like connected to the child, but you know, not necessarily to the parents, maybe? Or
yes, like you can, on these ones, you can add a note in here, like this is Paul's teacher, first grade teacher, very close. She knows them. Whatever it is, you can add it in there. And on the written ones, you can write anything on there, right? So it's how you use it. And like we said, we aren't particular about it, just as long as we aren't getting a genogram that says Paul is dad, mom is Mary, and here's the child, here's Paul Jr., and all they have is the grandparents on there. And so I find myself making a lot of phone calls when I come across those genograms. I'm making phone calls and I'm reaching out and just asking them politely to help fill out the genogram further. We need that family history for the child.
Yeah. And if folks have questions for Glenna, please put them in the chat, or you could raise your hand. What do you feel like you hit a certain, how do you know when you are approaching done, and I'm putting that in air quotes, with the genogram, like as you're making phone calls and making connections?
When I come to a dead end,
Okay.
I mean, it could take me a couple hours, and sometimes they'll give me, hey, maybe you need to call this person because they would know a lot more about my dad's side of the family, or, and that's what we'll do, whatever we can do. And, a lot of times they'll say, well, they're not going to want to take placement. And because I think people think that's what we're looking for, and that's not always what we're looking for. Once I say, well, if you can go to a baseball game, I said, you know what it is like for a child to look out and have nobody there cheering them on? It's awful, and so if they could just go to a baseball game and watch, or send Chris a care package even during Christmas time, or make phone calls or something like that, it's going to make a huge difference in their lives.
Yeah. This is a topic for another day, but I do want to touch on it because you guys have when you send the relative notification form, the ASFA kin notice, you ask people things like that, right? Like,
Yep.
if placement isn't a possibility, would you be willing to exchange letters or like provide rides and things like that, right?
Yep, it's right in the letter. It says right out there, you don't have, if you can't take placement, would you be willing to do A, B, C, D, E, F? Because there's a whole, a whole slew of them that we ask. And really, the list is non-ending, because every child needs a lot of things. What if they can't, doctor's visit? Are you able to take them to a doctor's visit? I mean, the list goes on and on. So, again, it doesn't have to be family. We've got teachers that are stepping up and want to be more helpful, and are coming to baseball games. And I was just at my granddaughter's soccer game, and there was a teacher, and she was there rooting on one of her classmates that was in foster care. So it's, we've come a long ways. Let's just say that we've come a long ways, even placing, like before we couldn't place a child unless they were married or whatever. But like, if my husband was married prior to our marriage, and he had a daughter, if something happened and our daughter had to go into foster care, we could place her with his ex-wife because they had a child together, and then their siblings would be put together. We weren't able to do that before, but now we can. So we've really come a long way.
That is
all
awesome.
in the benefit of the children.
Yeah. And that's a preview, because our next topic, the next session, is going to be on using an expansive definition of relative or kin. So love hearing stories like that. So we have a few questions from the chat. So Kate Rickard from Minnesota is wondering, are you training staff on this, or what do you do to identify as its benefits or its purpose?
Well, we have what we call a training. Everybody has to do, as a new worker, you have to do these trainings. And one of the trainings is teaming. And I actually facilitate that training. And we go through the family team meetings and genograms, huge, and just the benefits behind it, why it's important. It's not just another task. Why is it not just another task? Because of A, B, and C, just really hitting home on why it's important and why they shouldn't look at it just as a task. That's why if I come across a genogram that has 3 people on it, do they really not have any supports, or do we need to hit them up again and really have that conversation again with them? Because maybe the first time we had a conversation with them, they didn't want anything to do with this, but now we've built a better rapport with them, and we can go back and circle back around and see if, I bet you 9 times out of 10, there are going to be more people.
Yeah. Do you actually show the genogram sometimes to parents or other relatives? Just have them fill in, like, oh,
Yep.
wait a minute, grandma's missing or
Yep. Because I'll share my screen. If it's a Teams meeting, I will share my screen, and they are more than willing, most of the time are more than willing to fill in the blanks. Because that's how I say, I said, oh, I was hoping you could fill in the blanks here on your family. You have such a big family, and I was hoping you could fill in, like, they're more than happy to help. Especially when they find out I'm not going to be begging for them to take placement, that I'm only asking them to help fill out the genogram, and if they could be a support down the road.
yeah.
So,
And I know you mentioned that your IT system in My Sacris, you have a relative search tab and you can keep track of activities, but some folks here I know have IT systems where they're like, I wish I could do that, but I definitely can't. So you could imagine how you could use this to keep track of who you've contacted and you said like you could highlight their phone numbers if you needed to, right?
yeah, there's also kind of information. You can do anything with these. Like I said, the options down here, you can add anything you want, telephone number, the address. It's really up to you how you want and how big. See, oh, it's the focus child. Oops, I gotta go back. And you can add the for instance, to see the contact information. It gives you even email addresses. Okay.
Oh, great.
So you can do so much with this. It's just a matter of taking the time to do it. And again, this is the one that most workers use because it is more user friendly than the GenoPro. GenoPro, you look at it and you're like, whoa, right? It's like, I need something a lot more simpler than this. And this is it. This is it right here.
Great. So Kelly, oh, sorry. Again, my eyeballs today. Kaylee Cook, sorry, says, Glenda, what is the average amount of time you spend building the family tree and looking for placement? In Oklahoma, we allot about 30 days per case.
Are you talking about when they first come into care?
Sort of. So, like in our division, we have a list of criteria that we have, and they can send us a referral for that. So, like, it might be a couple months after they've been in care already, and then like the court is asking for us to build a family tree and look for kinship placement for them, and we only allot about 30 days of efforts for that.
Yeah, we don't have 30 days. When we know that we are removing a child, we have what we call the removal team. And that removal team, we distribute the task, what needs to be completed, and someone will be given the task of the genogram.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And then obviously looking for relatives until we find a relative. Sometimes you just can't, but if you're placing with foster care, but yeah, the genogram is something that gets done completed right away.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
All right, we've got a question from Mariah in San Diego County. So workers can choose any of these genogram templates, she's wondering, and which workers actually add to the genograms.
Any of the workers, I have these templates on the outside of my cubicle, and they are, like I said, if they wanted to take a paper one out, most will take the paper one out because they're going to be meeting with the family anyways. They'll take the paper one out, fill it out with their scratch, and they know if you don't have very good legible handwriting, they're going to either rewrite it or go in and type it in the PDF file. So most of our workers use the PDF file, and maybe use a lot of them like this, the one I have up right now, only because it's just friendly and user friendly. And then they'll just upload it. So it's a requirement to have a genogram. And before, we were having people just have let's say they had a report or paper worth of them, and they just turn it over and they would write stuff on the back of that, like draw boxes and stuff. That's fine, just as long as there is a genogram in the file, but we are a little bit more pickier and want it to be, there's no reason why they can't come in the office or even use that. I mean, they have it right there. They might as well just use it. So all of our people use something. I can probably say less than 2% use the GenoPro. Like I said, people just don't like that. I'm seeing that more of the workers are using this Family Echo a lot more.
So it sounds like if you had your druthers, you'd suggest people like maybe for that first meeting with the parents, it is good to have a piece of paper because it's just more personal, but then they lean into Family Echo and maybe not GenoPro if an agency, for example, was starting from scratch with Genograms.
I would say Echo. I would say Family Echo.
Okay.
Yep. I would say Family Echo hands down. And I would love if anybody else is using something else that they have found, please let me know and share with me. I'm always looking for different things for staff to make the job, easier, any kind of whatever, faster, easier, whatever, because it's a task that needs to be completed. There's no choice. It is policy. They have to actually one has to be completed for any open case, category 1, category 2, or category 3. So
Yeah.
it is policy.
Laura Lease is wondering if you could show what the print version of this looks like. So I think you started earlier of like going to.
I did. So you go down here to print. And let's just say I'm downloading the PDF file one. And there it is.
Great, thank you. This was so helpful. Thank you so much. I love your passion for Genograms. I love that you've tried so many different tools. I think this is a really valuable perspective. And if folks think of more questions for Glenda as we go on, we'll have a little bit of time at the end too. So thank you again. And we will share out her links, particularly for Family Echo.
Yes.
So that,
and I'll share everything I can. I sorry, but I have to run because they need me to pick up a child from placement and take him to his new placement.
Nope, that is the important work. So.
I'm looking forward for the recording. I'm glad you're recording this because I'm afraid I'm going to be missing out on stuff. So
great. All right. If you want to stop sharing your screen and then we will.
I thought I did, but I guess I didn't.
You're good.
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Great. So, great. Thank you so much. And then speaking of policy, just to touch on this briefly, as Glenda mentioned, in Michigan, it is a policy to have genograms. And while Cantrell could not make it today from New Mexico, also wanted to provide another example of agency policy that when there is a case open, that you do need to complete a genogram. We think that this could be a good best practice coupled with having good genogram tools and training and familiarity among the teams, just to make sure that it's consistent, right? Like you don't want some of your kiddos getting genograms and getting the benefit of that identified support network and other kiddos not getting it. So if anybody doesn't have a policy for it and has been looking for one, you can borrow New Mexico's or you could borrow Michigan's. And if you have one yourself or you think one is even better than this, we love sharing. So please let me know. I mean, with that, I'd love to pass it to Allie and Carol in Rhode Island.
Hi, can you see me?
We can see you and hear you.
Okay, perfect. So Carol couldn't make it because she's actually dealing with something for one of our missing kiddos in Rhode Island. So she's on that and I'm taking over this. But so Carol and I are the only two in Rhode Island and we do family search and engagement. And about 4 years ago, Carol came over into this position from the previous worker, and we kind of changed things up a lot. Once we came here, we just found the effectiveness of what we're doing a lot better. Carol and I both come from being social work. I was a social worker. She was a social worker and a CPI for a while. So with the knowledge, it's kind of actually helped our position a lot, and being able to really know what the workers need and what they have time for and what they don't have time for. So what the previous workers did, we've changed. So now when a case opens to the department and it goes to our FSU, which is family support units, so it's open. It comes from like CPS, or it comes from, we have an SRU line, which is like support prior to being open, like you call for yourself. When they come into the department, we immediately run something called a TLO, and it stands for the last one. And when you run a TLO, you get the parents' names, their social security numbers, previous addresses, phone numbers, and then it has 3 degrees of relatives, and it has like possible family friends, and we'll say like possible associates. So every single time a case opens, we initially run the TLO and we send it to the worker straight out the gate, whether the kid is in care or not in care. And then once we send it, we kind of ask for that follow-up. We use a lot of different techniques now as well. So we are using our court site to find out if we have any dads that maybe just weren't mentioned in the CPS. We can find them under like their DHS, like say parents have at some point like asked for food stamps or benefits like that. They have to list a dad, right? So we're able to get that information. We use social media. So we have 2 state Facebook accounts that Carol and I use, and we will go through parents' Facebooks and see if they have ever said, you know, like me and so and our kid or whatever. We'll gather that information. We do a lot of digging straight out the gate to kind of get that. So we're not 6 months in and we don't know who the dad is. And once we pass it off to the workers, we'll say, do you need help with placement? Do you need us to start calling out for placements? And from there, we'll call for them. We'll use our state tool, like what we use, which is called Richest system. And we'll use that to kind of see, like, have they been, I mean, sadly, if cases are opening, a lot of them have been in the system themselves as children. So we'll be able to get those family links of the siblings and stuff right from our own system. So we'll call families and like the previous person said, a lot of people are really forthcoming with information. So they're really good about saying like, no, I'm not an option, but this is my family tree. And these are the people that would be appropriate or might be willing. And let me give you their numbers, or let me tell you if you have the right number. We've had a lot of success with that and kind of that. I want to say we're in the 70s, high 70s, low 80s for kids that are with relatives or kin. We're very high. That's like our number one goal, is to get them with somebody that they know, right? That is our main function in family search and engagement. I know you spoke about policy. We actually have like a state law that we have to continue looking for kin or family at all times. So that's something that we're on. We originally run the TLO in the beginning of the case, and then we run it every 3 months if the kid is in non-relative care. So me and Carol will revisit them and we'll come back, we'll rerun it, and then we'll outreach the social workers and say, do you want us to keep working on this? What would you like us to do? Has the kid come with any information? Because kids can clam up in the beginning and be super hesitant, but as that relationship builds, they start giving out more information. Like, I have an uncle, but he's not really my uncle. You know, so that kind of stuff comes out. So that's really helpful. Carol and I don't just do FS, like the family support. We do all of Rhode Island. So we do CPS will contact us when they're opening a case if they don't have information. And a lot of times that leads to not having to remove. Just by giving the information we have, they'll pull people in on safety plans and they'll do stuff like that. So we do CPS. I work a lot with our AWOL team. So we have 2 people that look for missing youth in the state of Rhode Island. And they'll contact me when they're on the street and be like, can you run a license plate? Because the TLOs can also run license plates. They can run addresses. They can run businesses. Like, there's a lot of different facets from it that you can use. So they will contact us and ask us that. We've found a lot of kids using those kind of things. They'll kind of say, this is the address. Can you cross-reference it with our system? Do we have any kids that are around this other kid's age and the first name starts with Andrew? You know, like those little tiny things have led us to big successes. Or like, again, using Facebook, they're saying like, oh, hey, this is my kid's Facebook account or TikTok. And we've actually got a license plate from a TikTok video, you know, and we were able to find a kid that went to New Hampshire. So all of those little things are extremely helpful and have been great when we do that kind of stuff. We work with ARI as well, which is Adoption Rhode Island. They do our genograms. So they work on the kids that we can't find placements for that are going to go to adoption. And they will use the genogram. They have family finding. They have all of that stuff. We have access to it, but from me and Carol to Genogram for the whole state of Rhode Island, that just doesn't work. So we've found a lot of success letting them have that, us do our thing, and then we collaborate. So we'll meet monthly on those high priority cases with kids that we can't find placements for. And we'll just continue to both, you try this, I'll try this, and come back to the table. So that has been really helpful as well. I'm trying to think of what other stuff that we do. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, would love to open questions. I've got one for you now. So
Yeah.
it sounds like I just want to, then this sounds like a great practice where the social worker can reach out to you for sort of extra help.
Anytime.
Or also maybe if they themselves are like, actually, I kind of know this family, we've got a good rapport and
Yeah.
I'm great at social media. I got this part. But then if they don't have that, or they don't have the capacity, et cetera, they can reach out to you. So you seem very
Yeah.
flexible in that way.
We're very flexible, and it's our workers can't use any sort of social media with the families. So we have to sign like a thing that, and like our director signs approving us to have these two. The TLO is, it's someone just asked, it's actually just TLO.com. I think that's what it is. Let me check really quickly. I should know, I'm on it constantly.
It's okay. I remember hearing that.
It's TLO.xp.com. Our agency pays for it. I don't know how expensive it is, but we've had a lot of success with it. It's kind of like what the police use. They have like their own system. It's like a version of that. Like they have Clear, there's a couple others. What it is a lot of debt collectors use it as well. So there's a lot of information in there because they've gathered it from the past. But yeah, Facebook, they can't. So they'll kind of say to us like, hey, or like we've had ones that they said like, hey, mom doesn't know this dad's name, but she met him on Facebook and here's his username. And from there, we've been able to find him, message him, connect with him, and then move on. We have a lot, I mean, I'm sure every state sees it. We have a lot of issues with dads and like them not getting their chance, right? So a lot of saying like, dad's not around. And I'm like, well, you posted him 2 months ago on the kid's birthday party and he was in attendance. So he clearly has a very big role in this child's life. And I understand like moms get upset and you don't know the family dynamics, but they're a parent and they get a chance. So we've used that a lot. Sometimes people will just send us pictures with like clues. And we're like, oh, this guy has a tattoo on his arm and I think I see like the end of, and it's just kind of goes from there. We've found dads that they're like, we had no idea our kids were in care.
Yeah.
So, or we don't have a right date of birth or those things. So that's been really helpful with that. Let me see what else. We have some other
Do
stuff.
you update? So you run the TLO report, but
Yep.
then say you're talking to an uncle or the kiddo or everybody or whatever. How do you
Yep.
update that information in a way that you can keep seeing?
So every time we run a TLO, we have an Excel spreadsheet and everything is tracked. And then from the Excel spreadsheet, there's actually a note put into our riches system with every attempt that we've made. So, and it's under preserving connections because we don't have like a way to filter, but we're pretty much the only ones that primarily use that preserving connections. And we'll say who we tried, who didn't answer the call, what information that we found. And then that way the social workers can use it for their notes, especially when they're going to court. And then for our end, like it's always there. We're also meeting the federal and state guidelines by putting that note in and making that effort at the start of the case. So our social workers aren't, and we get it, so when we send our TLO findings, we also send a request form. And Carol and I fill out that request form when we send it to them right off the rip. So if they find out information down the road and they want to send us another one, it's already filled out because your social worker, that 5 minutes could be putting out a fire that you have to fill out that TLO form. So we really just try to help them as much as possible. And we are super flexible. CPS contacts us at night, and if one of us is up, we answer. Or someone might call us and be like, hey, we just got this information. Can you just run it real quick for us? Like we're very good to them and they're very good to us in that way, that the relationship we have is so positive that we see really good outcomes. And our social workers really are invested. Like a lot of other states have asked us that, and we're like, no, our workers like want these kids to either go home or be with family. That's a very big driving force for us. So, let me just see. Oh, my dog's barking. I think that's really, it's not it, but that's the jump of it. Even kids that are like in our training school, prior to them being transitioned, we do TLOs. So the social workers from the training school will contact us and say, we're trying to make a plan. This kid is exiting the program. Can you run it? And then they'll let us know if we need to follow up or if that's enough information for them. So that's also good. So they already have a plan coming out.
Yeah. No, I love this. So whether or not it's technically visualized in a genogram or more of the Excel that you're talking about, it's really about like how many creative places can you look and how many people can you talk to
yeah, and a lot of people don't want to look at like the likely associates because they're like, I don't understand why you would call them. But I had a family once, it was like 5-kid family. The mom wasn't answering, like we had no idea where she was with the 5 kids. And I called every single person on that TLO, and then I got to the likely associates, and there was someone in New Hampshire. And I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And he was like, oh, I used to live with her a long time ago. He's like, I don't have her phone number. She called me 5 minutes later. He was like, I'll get you her. Like, I'll get her to you. And she called me. She called work. She's like, oh my, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, my phone, something happened, but we were able to locate her. It's like, you can't leave any stone unturned.
Yeah.
That's
I remember
really
my first day ever in child welfare. I was in your office in Rhode Island and someone was looking for an AWOL kiddo. And everyone was like, oh, they ran away, they're disappeared. And that person knew to look on Facebook. And the kiddo was having a baby with his girlfriend, like on Facebook showing the baby.
Yeah, like here she is at Women and Infants. And you're like, okay, now we know where we're going.
Yes, exactly. So it was like not quite the same as like ran away and disappeared if they're visibly, findable that way. So that was a really.
And Mike and AJ do such an amazing job. And it's really good for us to be here for them on the jump because they're in the car. They're like never in the office. They're always in the car. They're always looking for kids. And they're like, all right, let's work your magic. These are my two, this is all I have. What can we get? And we'll find something. We'll find something that connects them. I mean, Rhode Island's a small state. But it definitely is an effective approach.
Yeah, for sure. We are here to promote all sorts of tools and have no commercial issues with anybody. But I will say, like, I've never heard a state talk about a tool like Rhode Island talks about TLO, and you have for years. And your predecessors, who I had the pleasure of knowing, like Dorn, talked about it all the time. So I think it seems like it's really working. So
it really is, and like you can always find. Even if like it's not, you don't find someone that will take the placement, you can always find someone that can give you information.
Yeah. Katrina is wondering if you have permission to use social media.
I do. Okay. I do. So Facebook is the only account that I associate my name on because I do find a lot of like parents on there, but let's get real. The kids aren't really going on Facebook that much anymore. They're more on like TikTok, Instagram. So I have like an account. I have accounts, but they're not like my accounts. They're just kind of like empty accounts. I don't know. What do the social media people say? They're like, I forget what they're called, but it's just like an empty account that I'll search on. Mike and AJ have accounts with like fake names and like tons of kids accept them. So now they just look like other kids. And so they'll get information from that.
Yeah, so, we're going to do a whole session on social media and we'll have you back to talk about. Maybe you'll have them come and talk too. Yeah.
I love social media for this.
Yeah. It seems like it's unlocking a lot of opportunities.
And like grandmothers, like you'll see them, like see a mom post like a baby and then you see the maternal grandmother be like, oh my God, my grandson's so adorable. I love him more than life. And I'm like, now I know who the dad is.
Yeah.
Or I know who his mom is at least. So let me find her and let me call her. And it just like takes you down a whole nother path.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions for Allie? If you think of them, we can drop them in the chat in the next few minutes or follow up. But Allie, thank you so much. That was really inspiring and thorough and awesome.
Thank you.
Great. So one last topic here are heart maps. So I was hoping that Kevin from Uplift Human Services could join us today, but he cannot. So I am going to try to play him on television, not nearly as well. So a heart map is something that they designed at Uplift. It's a pretty simple concept. You have this piece of paper with the child. It's a heart, and it has 2 lines on it. And the idea is to ask them, can you tell me who is in your heart? Like who is in your life? Who are your special connections? And the 2 lines are very important and came out of multiple design iterations of this. But they found when they put 1 line, it didn't encourage kids to make a list. They'd sometimes just put 1 person and then stop. And more than 2 lines, some kiddos had 2 supports but did not have 3, and it was really discouraging for them if they saw lines that were blank. So this was very specifically designed to have a heart and have 2 lines on it. It doesn't mean that the kids need to draw in the heart necessarily. I had the great privilege of joining Think of Us on a site visit to Uplift Human Services that they capture in their report called Aged Out, and we'll include a link to this. And I wanted to show a few of these heart maps. We have the children's permission to share these, I do want to note, and any personal information has been blacked out. So I don't want you to think I am inappropriately sharing children's private drawings. But this is, one heart map, and it includes things like pets, right? Which you might not think of traditionally. And as we're talking about, not everybody on a heart map or on a genogram or on a TLO is necessarily a placement, right? It's about supportive connections generally. A very eye-opening experience I had at Uplift was when a child put a dog on their heart map, and that dog is now part of their support plan. And they see that, maybe not now, this was 3 years ago, but saw that dog every Thursday as part of their ongoing support network. And I thought that was really powerful in terms of recognizing the children as, whole beings with a whole support network. So this is one example of a heart map. This is a second example. And again, the concept is you share the heart map and ask a child who's in their heart, and then they can draw on the heart. These are examples where the heart map, I think, was like at the front of the room, but the kids had their own blank piece of paper or colored paper that they could choose to use. And then they can draw who is in their heart, and they can draw the connections or not connecting lines, however they may see fit. And this was a really powerful way to help the kids, as we've heard earlier, right? The kids, especially the first time we talk to them and they've met us, they may not want to share their connections. They may be afraid of sharing their connections, may be embarrassed. They may have a lot of feelings. And so over time, this is one additional way to maybe help them share. And it can potentially surface connections. I think this is a really nice complement to the more formal genograms and TLO reports, because like those are not going to serve as your family dog, right? But an exercise like this could. And so together, I think this isn't a like pick one. This is a yes and kind of opportunity. So I was really inspired by the heart maps. I am a very big fan of them. And you can see more examples in the Aged Out report, which we'll include a link to. And with that, any hanging questions that folks wanted to ask, if you're thinking about using one of these tools in your agency, are you thinking like, oh man, I would love to, but I can't because X barrier. And you don't have to put that in the chat necessarily, but if you are thinking that, you should reach out to us, and you're happy, technical assistance can take the form of us brainstorming with you how you might get something unblocked, or how you might get something implemented. So we are super happy to provide TA of any level on this, and or again, pair you up. If you've never done genograms before, maybe you'd like to go to one of Glenda's next trainings in Michigan and learn, and then you can take that back to your agency and help train others. So as a next steps, we will share the templates that were shared today and the links like to TLO and to Family Echo and some other pieces. And yeah, not to keep saying this, but like if you need help with this, that's really what this learning collaborative is about, is not just sharing the idea, but helping more agencies implement it. So please feel free to reach out if you need any help at all to adopt a genogram or a heart map or more of a TLO kind of style report in your agency. And then the next meeting of this collaborative, as Melissa mentioned, it's going to be every other week. The next one is going to be about using an expansive definition of relative. And I didn't prime her to say this, but I think Glenda did a really great job earlier of highlighting, what it's like when you have an expansive definition of kin that can include everyone that's a support to a child, including their teachers or an uncle that's maybe not technically on paper an uncle, but still steps up. Like kids need their wide support network. And we've got some examples of everything from states changing their legal definition. And then we've got some clarification, some myth busting around, you can have different definitions of relative. So we'll be touching on those pieces. And if obviously you're probably signed up if you were here, but Melissa can drop the link in the chat, and maybe already did. If you want to share this with colleagues or friends to join in this series, we would love to have you. And that is it for me. Thank you for bearing with my temporary visual disability this morning. And thank you so much to our guest speakers who were really, really inspiring and did an awesome job.
Yep, thank you all so much, and thanks, Marina, for leading this discussion. Please check your calendar invites to make sure you have the recurring invites. Next meeting's June 6th. If not, I put my email in the chat. Please reach out to me, and I'll make sure you get that. So thanks everybody for joining us today. See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.